What's up guys, and welcome back to another Pokemon Sun and Moon video. I am going to be doing a sort of a discussion video, almost speculation slash discussion, so feel free to jump in the comment section and talk about the subject once you're done finishing watching the video. Before I start, I'd like to apologise for the lack of videos in the last few days. I fell ill towards the end of last week and sort of bad voice, so I couldn't really record there, and then on Sunday night my wisdom tooth decided it was going to pop through, so I've been in excruciating pain for the last few days, but I am all popped up on pills, so I should be good to record this video for you. So I'm going to talk about customization today, and whether or not it will return in Sun and Moon. So before we get into the nitty gritty of will it return or not, let's talk about customization in general, when it was introduced, what it introduced, and what impact it actually had on the game. So as you will know, it was introduced in X and Y at the start of Generation 6, and I guess it was one of the big selling points for the games themselves, because previously in the Pokemon main series games, it was a case of, you play as this character in this world. However, for X and Y, it was a case of, you can customize your character to be you in this world. Obviously, the customization options weren't like amazingly, you didn't have a huge amount of options, but you could make the character look like you to a good extent. So what could we actually do? Well, first up, we could actually choose a skin tone, something that has never been thought about before, I guess, in Pokemon series, because we just played as the Pokemon. But for the first time, skin tone was introduced, and you can choose your player's skin tone. And then further on to the story, you can change your hair color, your hairstyle, and then buy new clothes and accessories to use for your player. And as well as this, in the PR studio, you receive a lens case, which means you can then change your eye color. And also for the PR videos, you could have temporary makeup or facial hair on your character. Unfortunately, it wasn't like permanent, it was just for the videos, but it was still an extra sort of feature. And I think this, for the first time, you could actually make the game about you, I guess. It was actually you in the game. You were the character, and a lot of people loved that. I would say a lot of people loved that. Everyone loved that. I don't think there was a single person that said, "Oh my god, that's terrible." If you thought it was a terrible idea, you can simply play as a normal character anyway, and you can't complain. It's like one of those features in games where it's like, oh yeah, you can do this if you want, but you don't have to. It's not like it's being forced upon. It's not like changing the fundamental basics of the game. It is simply adding an extra feature for you to utilise as you wish. So basically, everyone was happy. And then, the other ways customization worked was there were salons and boutiques. Salons were where you can get your hair done. I think there was one in Lumia City. I'm not sure if there were any others. But boutiques were where you bought the clothes, and the clothes in each boutique changed daily, so you couldn't get the same clothes each day, which just sort of aided Pokemon playing of the game in general. It's not a case of you go to a shop, you buy everything, you don't have to go to the shop again. It's daily stuff, so there was a bit of that. But there were 6 boutiques in Santalune A City, Lumia City, Sillage City, Laver City, Anastar City, and Snowbell City. So 6 of them in the whole of Kalos, which they weren't that common. So there was about 1 in every 3 towns, I guess it was, maybe that's being generous, 1 in every 2 towns. So half the time in a town there would be a boutique there. It's only in the smaller towns you wouldn't find one. And then the way you put your clothes on, you could either put them on in a boutique, or you could go to the fitting room in any Pokemon Center and quickly change clothes there. So basically in the Pokemon Center for X and Y, instead of just having a Pokemart and a Pokemon sort of, a Nurse Joy like we'd had in previous games, you now had Pokemon healing station, I guess, and then the Pokemon section, and also a fitting room section. So it added a whole new dimension to the game. Now we have to obviously talk about ORAS before we move on to Sun and Moon, because customization did not see a return in ORAS, and this is a few reasons. The first one is because the game was a remake. They were trying to recapture the nostalgia and sort of the hype behind the original games without spoiling it, I guess. Yes, they added new stuff like Primals and Latios and Latios are now sort of part of the main story, but that just simply added to the story, I guess. Because it was just a case of you added Latios and Latias in, instead of just battling Kyogre and Ground as usual, they actually were Primals, so they seemed a bit more terrifying, I guess. Whereas introducing customization would, to an extent, it's obviously debatable how much it would have, but it would have removed some of the aspects of the essence of the original games, because obviously you wouldn't be playing as the character anymore. In Ruby and Sapphire we played as Brendan or May, and that was sort of the original characters for the game. It's like saying, oh yeah, we're making Red and Blue again, but you can just change it. You don't have to be red. Your character doesn't have to be red, you can be whatever you want. Obviously some people might like that and say, oh yeah, that's all good, but from Game Freak's point of view, they want to remake a game, they want to keep the nostalgia and the essence of the original game for the most part, so they didn't really want to even have the option for you to change the original characters around, because obviously Brandon and May weren't really they were very specific characters, I guess, whereas the main protagonists of X and Y were flexible, whereas Brandon and May do have, some of their style choices are a bit sort of weird, I guess, and set in stone, so changing those and having those customizable would be a bit weird. So it didn't return in ORAS, but there is still a very strong hope for it to return in Sun and Moon. Why is this? Well, it's a logical step, to be honest. It was introduced in Generation 6, in the first game, the first new games, I guess, so it's only logical it actually comes back in Generation 7 in the new games there. It's not a remake, they don't have to try and recapture the essence of an old game, they can simply add it on and have it as an extra section to the game, basically, an extra sort of feature to the game. And what else might they do, sort of as a further on progression of this? Well, they might have more customization options, as I mentioned earlier. For the PR studio, for your video, you could have makeup or facial hair for your character, but that was only simply for the video. However, in Sun and Moon, they might make it so you can have makeup or facial hair the whole time. The only reason they might not do that is because obviously the games are focused towards younger children, for the most part. Obviously, they're aimed at all ages, but younger children can play them. So if they were to allow you to put makeup on your character all the time, it might be, frowned upon, I guess, by some parents or adults, saying, "Oh, these children are, they're 10 years old, and they're putting makeup on their character in the game." I don't know. Obviously, it's just society nowadays. But you guys get what I mean, and they might be a bit hesitant to actually do that because it's a bit of a touchy subject there, especially like a 10-year-old having a beard in the game. Bit weird, maybe, I don't know. So it's possible they could introduce more customization options like that. Or even they might just broaden customization in general. We had back in Generation 4, seals were available for your Pokeballs, so when you sent a Pokemon out in battle, the seals had little design or sort of thing. They could think about returning that in Sun and Moon. You did hear the guy in the trailer, he said it all comes together, so maybe they're just sort of grabbing things from each generation. You could have seals from Generation 4, following Pokemon from Heart Gold, Soul Silver, I'm going to throw that in there again. Customization from X and Y, it all comes together. Maybe that's what that means, I don't know. But obviously, then the general progression of the customization system, larger range of clothes, just new stuff like maybe more boutiques. Maybe instead of having boutiques being separate, you simply have them in the Pokemon Center as well, having a symbol like a clothes shop, I guess, in the Pokemon Center as well as the Pokemon Mart, or maybe even have the clothes just added to the Pokemon Mart as a separate sort of thing. You have medicine, Pokeballs, clothing, something like that. Just ideas to throw out there. But it's also logical for it to have to be in Sun and Moon for other reasons. Think about what the online system will be like for Sun and Moon. We can assume the PSS, the player search system, will return in some form. It's probably going to be redesigned, but I would expect it fully to return without many changes to it, because it worked perfectly for Generation 6. Introduced in X and Y, you got to see all your friends there, you could just click on them and battle them if they were online sort of thing, and it was perfect. It was better than any previous online system, so there's no reason for them not to just copy it across on Sun and Moon. Obviously they're free to update it and change the graphics and change how it works, maybe in some aspects of it, but I fully expect the player search system to be the same. Now I just want you to think about the player search system and think about, what if customization was not in X and Y? What if everyone had just had to play the simple boy or girl character? What would your player search system look like? Yeah, the majority of the icons would be just the basic boy or the basic girl. Obviously you can change your icon to be other characters as well, I think, just any sort of gym leader or something in X and Y. But still, the majority of the characters would simply be boy, girl, the protagonist boy, protagonist girl, gym leader sort of thing. So basically it would be very bland yet again. There would be no customizability. It's not like you could change, the way your character looks, so your friends can say, "Oh, that character is, that must be my friend because it looks like him," or take a good guess at least. You would have to click on people each time to find out who they were, and that's annoying enough anyway on PSS when you have two people with similar clothing. And obviously it's same for ORAS as well. Obviously ORAS, I think, X and Y they have simply just the normal X and Y boy girl things, and then for if you're actually on ORAS, you have, I think you just have like a random and May thing, and then obviously people on X and Y have the customizable stuff. But think about it on the new generation. Obviously you're not going to be able to communicate with people in previous games, it's very unlikely at least. So just imagine it as people playing Sun and Moon. There's no customization, so they're all the same characters. That's one of the reasons I strongly think customization is going to return, because otherwise the PSS is going to be very bland and very, very irritating to use, because you won't be able to tell who any of the people are without physically clicking on the profile and having a look. So that's one reason why I think it's going to return. Another reason is there's already some evidence for it in the trailer. The trailer we got when it revealed Sun and Moon, we had some concept art, if you guys remember when I looked over it in the trailer, and there was one shot here I want to take particularly, which looks at this sort of brown-orange section of what looks to be a Pokemon Center. In this, you can see the red bit on the right hand side of one screenshot there. I believe the red section is going to be in the middle of the Pokemon Center, as you go as it usually would be. On the right hand side you have the Pokemon, which is the blue section, and on the left hand side is this brown-orange section. Now what do we have in X and Y? We had 3 sections. We had Pokemon Center, we had Pokemon, and then we had changing room or fitting room. However, this looks to be a desk. First though, if we look at the logo above it, we have an orangey coloured logo. Is it a shopping bag maybe? Kind of looks like a shop. You have a shopping bag. This big white bit being the bottom of the bag, and then having a handle. It could be that, or it could be a T-shirt, which is the same sort of logo as the one for the fitting room in X and Y. And this could be a counter where, clothing is sold. Where do you change into clothes, I hear you ask? Well, there is also this capsule I pointed out in the trailer. You can see it there, and this might be situated between the Pokemon Center section and the shopping section, I guess. Right in the middle there, a little capsule. It's not actually a capsule. It will more be like a little box. One side having a curtain on it, which would be your fitting room, and you can just pop in there, change clothes there in the Pokemon Center. This is one of the reasons I strongly believe that we're going to see customization again in Sun and Moon, I should say. Clearly, because there is something in the trailer that already hints towards it. The PSS would make a lot of sense to have customization, and a lot of the people in the community do want it. When we didn't have customization in ORAS, people weren't angry. I guess some people were upset, but they understood. Okay, it's I would like that customization, but I understand why they're doing it. If there's no customization in Sun and Moon, I would imagine a lot more people might say, "Oh my god, where's the customization? Why do they keep introducing features just to remove them once again?" So maybe people, maybe they actually think about it and think, "Yeah, we're probably going to have to add customization from now on. It's the main feature of the Pokemon games, basically." Or they could say, customization was Kalos' thing. We're not going to bring it back. We're going to do something different in Sun and Moon. Maybe, maybe not. As I said, guys, this is a discussion video, so feel free to leave below what you think about customization in Sun and Moon down in the comment section. Do you think it's going to return? Would you like to see it return? If it does, would you like to see any extra sort of additions to it? Any new sort of customization types or whatever? And do you think my little theory about the Pokemon Center pictures is correct? Or do you think it's something else entirely and I'm just going crazy? Let me know what you think down below in the comment section, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button. I love it and I appreciate it so much. But for now, that's it for me for today. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye, my friends.